Hey folks, it's time for the quote of the day, and today we are going to swing deftly into some controversial topics. Today we are going to be quoting a man that pretty much everybody knows who he is. Now, where you lie on the topic that he brought forth, I can't help you with that. That's up to you to decide whether you agree with him or not. I'm going to state my opinion on what he did and his legacy, and I think that it's worth a discussion. Today we are quoting for his birthday, even though he's no longer with us, Dr. Jack Kevorkian. Good old Dr. Death himself. Now, if you're not sure who that is, if you're somehow disconnected from that part of history, that is a gentleman that in the, let's say, early to mid 90s was very, very, very famous because he was someone that he was a doctor and believed very much in assisted, what we say here on the app is unaliving. The number is somewhere over 130 different people that he ended up helping. Now, he went to court four times. One of them was a mistrial, and he won the other three. And then on the fifth one, after Michigan, I believe it was, made it illegal, he went on TV and did, I think it was 60 Minutes, did a live unaliving of someone that had Parkinson's, and that was a little bit too much for everybody, and he went to jail. He was tried and went to jail for, I think he was sentenced for 8 or 9 years. I think he only did like 6, but in prison for murder. So this is where it gets, it can be a little challenging for some folks. Like, do you believe that what he was doing was the right thing, or do you believe, like some, especially those that of more religious cloth, that he was destroying the sanctity of life and things like that, and that he was, going against God, and there are all these different arguments. Personally, now this is what's important to understand is what he did. Even if you want to look at it and say that his methods were extreme, the way he kind of went, full bore into it, and was really like kind of gung ho about it. You can say that was distasteful, but what you can't say is that he didn't have a profound effect and move the conversation forward in terms of just palliative care in this country as a whole. We don't even get to the point where you have some of the pain relievers and some of the programs and systems that we have in place now if Kevorkian doesn't do what Kevorkian did. That he really started a nationwide conversation about the comfort, and the choice, the right to end your life the way that you want to, which I think is an important discussion to have. I mean, I think that, if as long as we approach it from the understanding that death is inevitable, which I know a lot of people don't want to hear, right? Like, a lot of people really do believe that they're immortal or something. So they just hold death as far away as they possibly can, but it's real and it happens, and it happens to all of us, and it happens to every single thing that you'll ever know and love. It is a absolutely foundational part of life. It is the next step in life. And I've often reposted and I done some stitching of a friend of mine, Nurse Abigail, who wrote a book, who I also showed here on my channel. And she was a palliative care nurse and has been talking about the idea of death and making sure that people are comfortable with death and all of these things. And so when I think about the way that Kevorkian, and as controversial as he was, and the things that he did, I think about the way he pushed and moved the needle to the point where there is so much good now, in terms of quality of life and things like that, decisions and things that never would have happened without him. I can't help but look at what he did and say, in the end, it was right, and in the end, it was good. It may, for a lot of people, ring as this horrible thing where he murdered people, but I never really saw it that way. What I saw, and what most juries saw when they watched these videotapes, because he would always go in and videotape the people that wanted to end their life, and one of the things that they all saw was just how resigned. Like these people were miserable and suffering from ailments that had robbed them of their ability to be what they, to be alive in a way that they wanted to be. They were riddled with pain. They couldn't move their bodies in ways that they wanted to. They couldn't live a life that they wanted in any way, shape, or form. And yeah, a lot of them were depressed, and a lot of them didn't see any hope. And yet perhaps they could have found that, perhaps, but we don't know that. And to prolong life, to force someone to live a life, of absolute pain and torment and just unhappy in every way, to force someone to live that life, how is that any different than, Satan himself, who keeps people burning over the pits in hell? You know what I mean? Like, you're literally forcing someone to live a life of torment just because of your stance on the sanctity of life. It just didn't make any sense to me at the time, and it makes even less sense to me to villainize the man now, knowing the good that he brought into this world. He really did start a national conversation, one that we were not comfortable having, but we absolutely needed to have. And I think we still need to have it. I think it's something that people still need to talk about. And unfortunately, considering our current news cycle, it gets lost. And I guess rightfully so, because we got enough shit going on with the fucking living right now, that it's very difficult to even imagine, to even worry about what happens when you die for a lot of people. But I just think that he's such an important, really honestly, one of the most important names in medicine, in general, and in the way that people handle not just life but death as well. And I thought that for his birthday, I would share a couple of his quotes. Now, I'm only going to use one of them for the little card thing that I do, but I just want to give you a couple of them. I want you to kind of hear some of the things that he said, so that you can get an idea of where he was coming from. I'll talk about them a little bit, but I'm just gonna rattle them off real fast so that you can hear them. He once said something I absolutely agree with. When your conscience says law is immoral, don't follow it. When your conscience says law is immoral, don't follow it. I agree 100%. Couldn't possibly agree with anything more than that. When somebody tells you, well, it's the law, but you know that that law is wrong, you do not follow it. MLK agrees, by the way. A lot of other leaders agree with that. He also said, my aim is to end suffering. It's got to be decriminalized, right? He's talking about, obviously, unaliving people. He said, I'm afraid of sudden death. I'd like to know I'm going to die. That's why death row wouldn't be so bad. And that's when he was on trial for murder and things like that. He was saying, death row wouldn't be bad to him. He didn't want to be in prison, obviously, but if he knew that he was going to die, it wouldn't bother him because he could prepare himself, which is an argument that the people that he helped with, that he assisted with, often made. He said, you've lost common sense, you've lost common sense in this society because of religious fanaticism and dogma. This is 100% on point. I absolutely agree with this as well. We have lost the ability, especially at that point in time, but again, today, to understand just common decency and common sense because people are so stuck in their dogmas and their absolute fanaticism over religion. And then the last one I want to give you is one that I agree with as well. You've got to know what death is to know life. You've got to know what death is to know life. And that is Dr. Death himself telling you that. Listen, people can argue for now until forever about whether or not what he did was good or right or whatever. What we can't argue about is the effect that he had and the good that came out of the things that he did. He may seem a monster to you. The things he did may seem monstrous, but he got the needle moving in a way that very few people even bothered to try to. And people picked that up and ran with it, and we've got legislation for right to die and people dying the way they want to now. So happy birthday to Jack Kevorkian. And to the rest of you, take care of yourself. Take care of others. I'll talk to you soon.